Well, here we go again. Here we go again. Clemson fans are pretty doggone angry. And the comments on my videos are golden. I mean, they really are. I'm going to go through those comments today. And I'm going to talk about Clemson, why the Clemson fans are angry, why they're justified, and why some arguments, in my opinion, each person has their own opinion. But with that said, there's some opinions out there that I totally disagree with, while others, I'm like, amen, boom, you got it. First, welcome to the channel. I want to tell you this. The channel just turned 3 years old. And this is not like, starting a channel is not, in the current YouTube world, is not like guys who started a channel 15 years ago. If you started a channel, I would say 10 to 15 years ago, you could easily have 50,000 subscribers like that. And it's very different now. And I just want to tell everyone on the 3rd anniversary, it was over the weekend actually, but on the 3rd anniversary of this channel, thank you so much to everyone who supported the channel, who has subscribed and even joined. You can actually join if you want to. There's a join button below there, $3 or $5 per month. But I just want to tell everybody thank you. It's been fun talking about Clemson football with you. And I hope you'll continue to show up here. If you like what I'm doing, you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. Hope you'll pass along to anyone else who loves Clemson football. Right now, I'm simulcasting on my other channel, brand new channel, Another College Football Podcast, where I talk about college football as a whole. The link is below in this video. So I want you to go over there and subscribe. That would be cool. And then we will be, let me see. We will be, in fact, I'm getting a text right now from Bill Mooney. I've been doing a giveaway. The giveaway is shut down. It is shut down. I will be naming the giveaway winners from 1790 Knife and Tool. Y'all got to go check them out. They're out of Pendleton, South Carolina. Go check them out. They're very kind, and looking forward to announcing those winners. So let's dive into the weekend. Clemson loses 17-10 to LSU. And losing a game is one thing when both teams across the board, offense and defense, fights really, really hard. But what is really difficult for a fan base, Clemson or not, to accept is when you have an offensive strategy that for 2 years now we've been told, oh, we don't have the pieces. We don't have the pieces. That's the reason we can't run these plays. We can't run that type of offense. We can't do that play against this style of team. And I'm going to stop doing fan speak, and I'm going to say it point blank. A lot of people in the Clemson community has heard from, partially from Coach Swinney and Garrett Riley, that we're basically working with what we have, and we need more. We need more talent. We need more experience here. We need this to come to fruition. The problem is that this has not affected Clemson when they're playing an average football team. And for anyone with football acumen, you go, well, duh, Brian. And you're right. You're right. Absolutely. For the most part of this season, Clemson will line up against a lot of teams in the ACC and Furman. They will impose their will, and they'll win. The problem that Clemson has been running into since probably the last year last 2 years Trevor Lawrence was at Clemson, his sophomore and junior year. You know what I'm talking about. They've been running into is they've been getting out-coached. Especially the last 4 seasons. It's got bad. And the Clemson fans are angry because anytime we play a top 10 matchup now, Clemson loses. Clemson lost to LSU, or I say LSU. I keep saying LSU, and I don't know why. Louisville last year. And they were not a top 10 team, but they have a really good coach. Jeff Brom can coach. If you clicked out of this video right now, or if you stayed for the entirety of the video, and I talked about various subjects, various teams, reasons why we lose, I want you to take Jeff Brom as the template of a coach who doesn't have the talent of LSU or Georgia, but he beat Clemson. At Clemson. And in the offseason, everyone had a high expectation. And I did too. But I told you, and if you go back and you watch all of my videos, you're going to see it. And I admitted it multiple times to you. Some of you are like, Brian, you're so high up on Clemson. You know, man, I think you need to pump the brakes. And here's what I told you with a mischievous grin on my face. I said, Clemson does have a lot of the pieces. Clemson has Tom Allen now as the defensive coordinator. The defense did look better the other night. The defense stayed out on the field for 14 minutes longer than LSU's defense had to stay out there. That means that LSU's offense had the ball 14 minutes longer than Clemson's offense, and that's because Clemson's offensive scheme was not good enough to play against LSU. It may beat Duke, it may beat Troy, but it was not an elite scheme. And it is not an elite scheme. So we're going into season number 3 of having to sit and watch this. And we watched it with Streeter. I know that Tony's a nice guy, but everybody has a romanticized view of Tony. Think about his last season. Well, that's because he had DJ and everything. No, we're not. I'm not playing that game, folks. I'm sorry. I am not doing it. We're wasting too much time here. And I warned you a few years ago. I said, we're wasting so much time that you're going to keep recycling these excuses. You're going to turn around and realize 15 years has passed. It will be like Clemson in the 90s when they're like, yeah, what about 1981? It's like, bro, that was 17 years ago. That's 15 years ago. That's 25 years ago. Oh, right now. And they're wearing their old 1981 shirts, got holes in it. You can see their belly button. It's disgusting. Yeah, that's what's happening. But I told you, I said, listen, if Clemson loses 3 regular season games, this is a catastrophic failure. I also told you, and I'm going to get to the comments here in a second. I told you over and over that if our offense came out conservative, we would lose, period. I told you that. I was honest with you. And they came out conservative. They started to fire it up right before the first half, scored a touchdown. It's shocking. And then went right back to the same old stuff that we did in the first few drives. And Clemson lost that ball game. Now, LSU is a really good football team, but folks, I'm going to tell you this, and I know LSU fans are going to have a field day with you. You should read my comment section from some of them. You would think Joe Burrow's out there playing for them now. And I'll tell you this, that's not Joe Burrow. That's not Jamar Chase. That's not Marshall or Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's not, this team's not even close to that. Just because they beat Clemson, and I hate to say it, because I know the other side of it, that means that Clemson's not elite anymore. And it was just made perfectly clear that Clemson's not elite anymore. Again. But LSU, they still have a lot to prove. A lot to prove. And there's teams on their schedule that's not going to lay down and die like Clemson's, or just absolutely just be non-aggressive like Clemson's offensive scheme the other night. They're not going to do it. They'll come after them with blood in their mouth. And you'll be sitting there probably at the end of the season, most likely looking at a 2-3 loss LSU football team. And Clemson fans, and even Clemson's coaching staff is going to be, not all of the coaching staff, by the way, but they're going to be sitting there going, how did they do that? Well, they didn't have a conservative offensive plan, offensive scheme. That's one. And two, they didn't have a conservative offensive scheme. That's two. And three, they're not going to have a conservative offensive scheme. That's three. Notice a trend? So Clemson fans are angry because they know we do have the pieces. They know that we will. Here's what's scary. We will lose a lot of these pieces at the end of this season. So again, we're wasting eligibility. We wasted the eligibility of guys like Miles Murphy and Brian Broussais. We wasted the eligibility of Will Shipley. We wasted the eligibility of Trenton Simpson and Nate Wiggins. You're like, Brian, those are defensive players. I'm just talking about really good players right off the top of my head that Clemson wasted their eligibility. It's truly sad. Davis Allen wasted his eligibility. While we're over here trying to figure out what a really good offense should look like, we're wasting eligibility. I mean, for some of those guys I named out, it's been 4 or 5 years since they were on campus. So before I get into the comment section, I promise you I'm getting in there. There's 100 of you in here right now. Happy Labor Day to you. I hope you'll subscribe if you haven't done that already. This weekend was the 3-year anniversary of this 3-year birthday of this channel. So if you like it, I hope you'll pass it along. If you don't like it, why are you watching me? There's so many other things you could be doing in life if you don't like the channel. But if you like the channel, hope you'll pass it along. Hope you've subscribed. If you want to join, $3 or $5, it's below this video right now, and check out the other channel, another college football podcast where I talk about college football as a whole. I'm simulcasting there right now. So anyway, let's get back to Clemson. We had a lot of expectation coming into the other night because logical people would. You have a third-year starter coming back, 4 out of 5 offensive linemen coming back, one of the best wide receiver rooms in America coming back. And listen, folks, this whole narrative that losing Antonio Williams changed everything, that's bullcrap, and you know it. Notice how Tyler Brown came in, and I'm glad to see that for him. Came in, there was no drop-off. That's just an excuse, folks. That's just an excuse. Christian Bettenker, a guy who's highly recruited out of high school, big-time tight end's been waiting his time, came in, had an incredible catch, looked good. And I know there's questions about the whole running back thing. We barely tried to run the football. We barely tried to get the ball out on the edge. I'm not talking about a quick pass out on the edge where they knew it was coming and they shifted their defense. No. We barely tried to run the football. We can talk about the defense and all the returning starters we have and that Tom Allen came there. Hey, let me tell you this. You should be impressed by the defense that they stayed out on the field almost a full quarter more than the opposing team, and they gave up what they gave up. This has been happening at Clemson for a very long time now, that the offense is stagnant. And if your memory will serve you correct, bringing in Chad Morris many years ago was the piece after hiring Brent Venables, because we realized the offense is still staying out there too long. I mean, the defense is staying out there too long. They're getting tired because the offense can't move the ball. And that's what Dabo did. He went out and he hired someone who called a more aggressive offense. And then when you got Tony and Jeff together, they did a really good job together. And that's what a lot of people, they're missing here. Let's get to the comments section. This is from a video that I posted yesterday that said the title of it is Clemson Can't Beat the SEC. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with all of these statements, but I am going into right now you're going to see a really weird screen. This is what I can say on my YouTube side. Hopefully you can see that. I'm just going to read these. Some of them I've seen before. Some of these are brand new. Eric says, hey, we need speed very bad. I don't think that's the problem. I think what we need is is an offensive scheme that can actually use the talent that we have. That's not going to play into the hands of a defense that is coming after you with blood in their mouth. You know? From Charles, what we are seeing on the field does not correspond with what we were being told by those who, with ready access to practice and daily interaction with the team and program. Therein lies, I'm not understanding that word, juxtaposition. Would you say that? The message is orchestrated and tightly controlled and used to manipulate. I get where you're coming from there. I get exactly what you're coming from there. I know some people by association, even some I've met over time via doing this, who are really nice people, and I don't think they're sitting there just lying. But I do believe that some people who are really close to the program become friends with the coaches. And just like when you and I become friends with people, we tend to give them the benefit of the doubt. Not because we're sitting there trying to be deceitful, dishonest people, but we try to give them the benefit of the doubt. And it's hard for us to say the truth until after the fact. Like today, don't be shocked if you go read across all the Clemson publications and listen to anyone who, whether it's on radio or on YouTube, who talks about Clemson. Don't be shocked if you hear more of the criticism today, and it will be very carefully phrased, because it is their job. This is not my job. This is not my job. I have a job. I'm off today, but this is not my job. I'm in the software business. So if I say something that a coach doesn't like, I won't have to feel the wrath of said coach, because those coaches don't know me and I don't know them. And I've said, and I'm not taking a shot at anyone. I know some people would probably be angry at me. I'm not. I promise you, I'm not being vile here. But sometimes you can get too close to people to where you can't tell the truth to everyone, or you can't be completely open. Excuse me. I'm being very careful because I know some good people who are at the Clemson practices. It's their job. They can't lose access to the coaches and to practice because they would lose their job. And I want to be very careful what I say about myself, but I am just telling you, if I say something about the offense, and by the way, I'm not going to drive Garrett Riley into the ground. Garrett seems like a nice guy. Garrett has made a lot of money. I'm going to stop sharing for just a second, go back to it. Garrett has made a lot of money coaching a game. And folks, I mean, that's cool. If he got fired tomorrow, they would have to pay him very well, more money than you and I would ever make. So losing your job at Clemson or at any major university, yeah, it hurts your ego. Yeah, it hurts that you got fired. But it's not like most of us if we lose our job. And at best, we may get a small severance package after we sign an NDA. Okay? It's very different with coaches. And again, they are human. They feel pain. We shouldn't talk bad about their family or say things, terrible about them. At the end of the day, this is just a game. Okay? College football is just a game. I know for some of you, it's hard for you to accept. I know I get worked up over it, but at the end of the day, it's just a game. I don't know Dabo. You don't know Dabo, most likely. The trash talk you talk to perfect strangers over people who are perfect strangers, meaning you'll chew out fans of other fan bases and you don't know them, and you're defending someone you don't even really know. And so, maybe this is me getting older. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to just absolutely trash either party. All I'm going to say is that Garrett Riley does not look. His offensive scheme is not working at Clemson. Period. It is not producing a Clemson level result. And in my life, I've lost a job before, and it hurts. So I don't like to just scream, "Fire Garrett Riley." At the same time, it's not working, folks. This is not working. And, I go back to the Tommy Bowden days. Tommy Bowden seemed like a good man, and he may be a good man. I don't know him. Maybe you know him. But Tommy Bowden, when he came into Clemson, it was at a very bad time. And he did turn it around, not to the level of Dabo. We couldn't get 10 wins. But, folks, you got to remember when he took over, Clemson was 3-8. After their administration hired a guy that went 5-6 or 4-6 at UT Chattanooga after only 1 year of being a head coach of a Southern Conference football team. And Clemson thought, you know what, we're going to bring in a guy who was one of Ford's boys. And that didn't work out well. They brought in Tommy Bowden. Tommy Bowden did make changes. We finally beat Clemson or Florida State for the first time since they had joined the conference. But we got to the point to where we realized Tommy got us to this point, but this is his ceiling. There was always another reason why Clemson can't compete. Then you had the West End Zone. You had the remodeling of the stadium. You started getting players like Daquan Bowers, Ricky Sapp. You forget they were U.S. All-American Army players. I say Army, but I'm talking about the Army All-American team. I butchered that. Then you got C.J. Spiller. And there was no change. And then you had to come to the terrible conclusion that Coach Bowden was not going to take us to that next place. And folks, I'm going to tell you right now, Garrett Riley, I wish him the very, very best, but this offensive scheme is not, it's not taking Clemson to that next level at all. At all. So, just to answer this comment, and I'm going to try to move a little faster. I just want to say this to Charles here. The people who are on the sidelines at the practice, that is their job. And if they want to keep said job and they want to keep access to these coaches, part of keeping their job is keeping access to the coaches. They have to say things a certain way. And the next thing is, we should be expecting Clemson to be incredible with the talent that they have. So I get it. I get exactly what you're saying. Let me get back in here into the comments section. I'm live here, but I'm getting messages about anyway. Kind of one of them deals with Clemson football here. The wide receiver room at Clemson got closed down by a much improved LSU defensive backfield that may have looked good in practice, but live action proved different. I get what you're saying there, but Clemson's offensive play calling, the strategy, was just too Manila. It was just way too Manila. The man who can put Riley in the box up top and put Allen on the sideline. Riley needs to see how his plays fall apart. The hard take, my old man over there, the O-line, not all of them, just Tristan Lee, once again, is a joke. I think the hard take, a lot of people took a shot. Now, I know you're not taking a shot at the O-line. You just didn't like how Tristan played. The O-line got overwhelmed. And when the DC, kudos to the DC for LSU, when he realized that Clemson was not going to get any more creative, and I think Brian Kelly said after the game, if my memory serves me correct, he said something along the lines, we knew they were not going to run the football against us. It is sad that the opposing coach knew that the Clemson Tigers would not run the football against them. That's sad. So what do? You just overwhelm the line. You overwhelm the line. And that's exactly what they did, and there was no adjustment to it. Mike, wide receiver at running back, what has Clemson become? I don't think it was a bad idea to put him there, but if you're going to put him there, run him. And that goes back to the statement I just made. LSU said we knew they weren't going to run the running back against us, or they were not going to run against us. And maybe that included Cade. I don't know. As an SC fan, Clemson will be fine. I've seen a lot of offensive line struggles this weekend. Takes a while for them to gel. David Moore, it's good seeing here. I don't know. I don't know. I think that this is what most of us need to accept. If you have an elite offensive line and you're playing a really good team who schemes just right to overwhelm that line, you send 6 and you've only got 5, or you send 7 and you only got 5 blocking, they're going to be overwhelmed because of extra people. And you may get away with it for a couple of plays, but an entire game, no. And that's what happened the other night. Ricky Cox, Clemson's been wasting talent since Trevor's second year. Ricky, I tend to agree with you. I tend to agree with you. The real Jason Red, not sure you'll see this, but at what point would you consider starting CV at quarterback? Would it take 2 or 3 losses? Jason, I think that if Cade Klubnik struggles in this strategy that's not working, no offense to Vizina, he definitely will struggle. And if they were to use the scapegoat of, well, it's on the quarterback, and we go to Christopher Vizina, that would be, you want to talk about taking a shot at the integrity and the family atmosphere of Clemson. This whole thing of, oh, we stand with our players, we love them. Oh, it's Cade's fault. No, it's the offensive strategy's fault. So, it just doesn't make sense. What's going on? What's going on in Clemson right now? It's just poor strategy. I don't think that. I think that would be unfair to Vizina and Cade, because it's not there. It was not Cade's fault. I know he threw an interception. Cade was literally under duress the entire time. Clemson play last night seemed like Cade rolled out to the right or left and either got sacked or threw the ball away. There's no vertical passing game. The offensive line looked like they were lost. The defense was fresh because it was first game. But the season goes on. They're going to get worn out if Clemson doesn't find an offense. Let's talk about that. They should have moved the pocket more. They should have stopped being so predictable. Again, going back to Brian Kelly said they knew they weren't going to run the ball. LSU was sending extra guys, and we did not adjust to that. Vertical passing game, it was non-existent. We're back to doing that again. And I say back, we've been doing that now for about 4 seasons at least. And so, guys went like when DJ was in charge, it's easy to step back and say, oh, it's DJ's fault, because DJ would throw a ball. I mean, he'd throw a rocket into the ground. You just see a big chunk of earth come up. I mean, he would, and then he'd turn around and throw one of the best passes you've seen in quite a while. DJ was very difficult to figure out. And I don't know. There's comments here in the chat section. Seeing a bunch of you in here. A ton of you in here. I'm sorry if I've overlooked it. I'm going over the actual comment section of some of my videos because I think it kind of gives a pulse of what people are thinking in Clemson. But I see a bunch of y'all. I see a bunch of y'all in here saying a lot of the same things. Let's get back to the comment section here. FSU, South Carolina, for real. Clemson is in trouble. FSU looks for real. South Carolina, I watched some of that game. They had offensive line trouble, folks. VT stuck in that game. That's a VT team who lost, I think, 3 starters at least. 2 to 3 starters on LSU's team was from VT's last year team. So they lost players. Their coach is on the hot seat. They actually played South Carolina pretty solid. South Carolina's DBs are going to have to pull it together. And by the way, I've told everyone, South Carolina lost a lot of talent, a lot of experienced talent on the defense. Sellers was Sellers. But I was watching the game with a family member of mine, and they said, let me tell you this. And they're not a Clemson fan. They said, let me tell you this. Sellers being the outlet, being the one who gets the job done, it'll work. It will work against teams like Virginia Tech. It's not going to work against teams like LSU. It's not going to work against teams that have a lot of talent. And they have a good coach. They will scheme. They'll say, you know what? Let Linares get his. We're going to shut down everything else. We'll wear him down. We'll win the ball game. That's how you beat them. FSU, on the other hand, looked unbelievable. Now, I'm not about to anoint them as a playoff team, but that was what an incredible offensive scheme looks like, folks. There's a bunch of responses there. Clemson is not top tier. The play calling is suspect every year, betting on the same average players in coaching. You know, Big Load, I agree with part of that statement. I don't agree with all of it. The play calling is suspect every year. And it's been suspect now through 3 coordinators. And I think that Swinney's going to have to step back. First off, Dabo Swinney can do whatever he wants to. He could do whatever he wants to from the time that he took the job at Clemson. But now that he's won, he's had a lot of success. Yeah, sure, he can do whatever he wants to. But I think he's going to have to step back and say, you know, I went after Garrett Riley because he was a hot commodity. And I'm not being a jerk here. I'm not trying to be rude. But Garrett's last game he coached at TCU, he managed 3 points while the other team, or 7 points, excuse me, while the other team had 65. I just don't see that being the right hire. I really don't. I really, really don't. And so he needs to look at guys like Malzahn. He needs to look at guys like Chip Kelly, who was at Ohio State. And yes, he had all the tools in the toolbox, but he used them and he knew how to use them. That's the type of offensive coordinator that we need at Clemson. And listen to me, Clemson can still get them. Look what they did for Tom Allen. They brought Matt Luke out of semi-retirement. So there's that to look at. This is not a thing wrong with there is not a thing wrong with the roster. Clemson has the talent to win that game by at least 14. Any blame put on the players is by finger pointers who don't know enough about football to look past the surface level X's and O's. Dell 30, an incredible statement there. We can look at some people and question their performance on the field. This comes back to offensive scheme. Kevra Cromer said, they better not kill Troy. That should be a 14-0 win or 21-0. Nothing more. They shouldn't kill them like they did with App State last year. They don't deserve to after last night. Andrew says, if it's Troy, if Clemson doesn't destroy them, then chalk up the season. Killing them is fine. We don't want to see real play calling out of nowhere. Win big due to talent. If some magical new scheme shows up, I will lose my mind. Andrew Roof, there's a lot, but folks, there's a lot more comments here, and I'm not going to go through them. Andrew Roof, I'm going to end on that one. I may go to our live chat here for a second. But Andrew Roof, I amen. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. I warned y'all last year. I warned y'all after that Appalachian State game. I was bothered by how many Clemson fans were totally fine with the performance at Appalachian State, and they totally forgot the week before when Clemson played a real football team. No offense, Appalachian State, but you know y'all were bad last year. That's the worst Appalachian State team I've seen in years. So bad they had to fire their head coach, who was alumni. They had to get rid of him. I mean, I've never been so just bothered by the response from Clemson fans. I was like, we play a real football team, we lose by 28. We blow out a terrible football team, and everything's okay. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right, but we're elite. Remember 16 and 18. Do the math how long ago that was. Do the math. And I told you last year, I said we failed forward. We failed forward last year. We needed Fran Brown to beat Miami to get us in. The same day that Fran Brown beat Miami, and he said something like, I got you, Dabo, got us into the ACC championship. It took the sting away of losing to South Carolina that day. One of the worst things that could have happened to us last year was Fran Brown beating Miami. Because had he not, and I'm not mad at Fran Brown, we went to an ACC championship, blew the lead, and had to trot a freshman out there to hit a massive field goal to beat a team that we should have beat by 4 touchdowns. And suddenly everything is good in Clemson. We shouldn't have went to the ACC championship. We should have felt the sting of that South Carolina loss, and we shouldn't have went to the college football playoff. We're still celebrating that Texas performance. Last time I checked, didn't we lose by 14? I think we did. I think we did. It's annoying. It's really, really annoying. I'm going to try to catch some just some quick comments. Good to see you, Will Man, in here. Chase Henderson, good to see you, buddy. One of the old, one of the OGs. I bought the hype this year. I did 1-4, I believe, in the last 5 openers. You're right. 0-4 versus SEC recently. No run game we attempted. I believe 9 rushes all game. Pathetic. OC crumbles in big games. We lost. You should have bought the hype, Jordan Jackson. That's when you have a ton of players that are talented. It's like having the race car and you have the pit crew. You're just sitting there going, just go drive fast. You'll be fine. And that's what happened. Pride tube. I think that's I'm going with that one. Just heard a PFF breakdown of the game. The issue for Clemson is not the players. This loss falls on our coaches. LSU's coaching staff ran circles around them. Again, I could end on that comment. This has been happening for a while. Why name Adam Randall the running back if you're not going to run him? Why praise Gideon Davidson and not use him? Well, it's in that big of a game, and we don't want to put that load on him. I get it, but folks, some of these guys are ready. Keith Adams Jr., you could have put him back there. The guy's been at Clemson forever. He's not fragile. It's bothersome. It doesn't matter how many times we ran it. We ran the ball one time in the second half. Tommy Hancock, if we run the table in the ACC and lose to the Gamecocks again this year, it just means that we're a middle-of-the-road SEC team. A lot of people get mad at that comment, but that's the truth, unfortunately. Listen to me, folks. If you don't like the truth, change it. Don't get mad at people for saying it out loud. And listen to me. There's a lot of people who gets offended that people would even have the audacity to say anything like what he just said. But is it true? I think it is. Tiger fan 24, our offensive staff is due for an overhaul after this season, for sure. Matt Luke is the only one to stay. Jonathan Benton said, David Hood from TigerNet, we need a total offensive overhaul after just 1 week. That's interesting. I'm scrolling on down. I missed a bunch of you. Y'all please forgive me. Other than the still play calling, what surprised me in a bad way was how unprepared our O-line was for LSU. The defensive play calling by LSU was not in any way out of the ordinary. Yeah, Chase. If I'm scheming for this team, the number one thing I'm going to do is say, look, we have to put pressure on Cade. We don't want to give him time because those receivers are good enough. And if they have just a little bit of time to run their stem, guess what? And we did not adjust. Now, I think where the offensive line comes into play is they just kept sending extra people, and we didn't adjust the play at all. We didn't move Cade. Hey, we didn't say, hey, let's do some design plays that looks like we're spreading it out and then get Cade to run. We became one-dimensional fast, and we didn't adjust to the pressure. Chase, I believe if you were calling offense, if you and I were calling offense, a lot of people are like, I'd like to see that. Folks, I mean, why not? That scheme did not make an adjustment for the aggressiveness of, and it goes back to the DC. LSU's DC. Man, he said, who do I have on my team? The speed and everything? Yeah, all right, I'm going to use it. Patrick Mercer said, maybe it takes a 5-loss season to make things clear. Maybe so. I'm scrolling on through. Seeing a bunch of people in here. Buck says, go Tigers. His Tigers. There's a bunch of people in here, folks, and I'm missing it. I admit it. I am missing people left and flipping right. Koozie, Sleepy Spiller needs to be on the hot seat. $2. Koozie, thanks for supporting the channel. You know what? I have a lot of respect for CJ Spiller. And Spiller is one of the best things to happen to Clemson. I just don't know about the running back situation. Could be totally wrong because we have a scheme that's not even including the running backs. But could that be the reason? I don't know. I don't want to just hammer on someone. I know right now it's clear that Garrett's offensive scheme is just not producing. But Spiller, I love Spiller. I'm just sitting here wondering if I'm just wondering if he's a really good coach. You can be a really good player and not be the coach, and you can be a really good coach and never really a good player. I don't know. Going through here as quick as I can. There's so many comments in here. And by the way, thank you for all the comments on a Monday. I know it's Labor Day, but, you know, it's really cool. Here's a really good one. Ethan Sullivan. And there's probably other really good ones. I'm just scrolling through. There's so many in here. Do you think SC is the better team? Is a better football team after their win yesterday? I think South Carolina and Clemson would be a really good matchup right now. right now. I think it would be interesting to see them play this Saturday. They're not, but it would be interesting to see them play this Saturday. It would be funny. All right. Folks, if you love my channel, okay, even if you just kind of like it, I hope you'll subscribe. It just turned 3 over the weekend. It's third birthday for the channel, and it's growing, and I appreciate that. I'm simulcasting on another college football podcast. That's my other channel where I talk about college football as a whole. So I hope you'll go over there and subscribe. It is free. Hope you'll subscribe here. If you want to join the channel, $3 or $5 per month, hit the join button below the video. Folks, y'all take care.